temple that is 3000 BCE. People have been pilgrimaging to this beautiful sanctuary and just immersing themselves in the healing waters there. So if that's something that sounds like it's captivating to you, that you're craving for something more than just a weekend retreat or self-help books, your soul's calling for this, and you are just curious enough, just the curiosity of exploring this with me, I gladly extend the invitation. And especially right now, I have the early bird pricing happening, and that ends October 10th of next month. And there's only a few openings for that. So there's a QR code up here in the upper right-hand corner. You can find the information on my website also as you scan that QR code. And just to give you a little taste, I just want to play a really short segment of the video.
We all start as strangers, and you walk away as family. And I mean the kind of family you've always dreamed of.
The expansion within ourselves brings peace of mind and really a spaciousness within ourselves. So that way we can address the challenges in life with more resiliency and feel more grounded and at ease in everyday life.
One of the reasons I signed up for this was because of April and Brian. I knew I would be held in love in a safe place, and I would recommend them highly.
There's a lot of people that I would recommend this to, everybody I know.
If you feel called and ready, we'd love to meet you.
So that was my co-host, Brian Cochran, and we're both biodynamic breathwork certified and just loving a space to share this sacred, amazing sanctuary that we've created here. So speaking of creating a space of amazing sanctuary, I want to bring up our guests to the stage. So I'm going to add Julie and Chris. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Great to see you again.
Yeah. Great to be here, April.
It's so good to have you both because of your expertise and how you actually tune in to people's bodies and allow them to recognize when they're pushing too hard, because we're pushing through the day, we're pushing through the week. You hear people, it's Wednesday, oh, it's hump day. I'm just trying to get to the weekend, right? And that really, even us telling ourselves that, our bodies are feeling all of that. We're carrying that load and hoping to find relief, at the end of the rainbow, really, when that's not the case. But before we get into the topic, I would love for you each to just share a little bit about you and how you support others. Julie, would you mind, ladies first, going first?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Julie Johnson. I just kind of say I'm a digital health innovator, but that's just like an overall space, a way of saying I have a background in both healing arts and tech. So my background in the healing arts world is in trauma-informed yoga, embodiment, and herbs and energy work, right? With Reiki. I'm a Reiki master like April. And then on the tech side, my background's in accessibility, learning experience design, and experience design and AI. So I kind of blend these pieces together, and we launched and then Integrate, which is a platform, trauma-informed yoga or trauma-informed practices platform that we launched about a decade ago, just launched an app where we kind of put embodiment into an app to make these practices a lot more approachable and available to the everyday person, because it is a skill, and it's not like something that you just come to, from just bite from our default methods of living in the world. It really is a practice you kind of have to step into little by little as we, move through the world. So the app that we have called Let's Integrate really does help us integrate these embodiment practices, finding the wisdom of the body to help us, go deeper within ourselves and find that wisdom that already lives inside of us.
Mm, yeah, that's so needed. So needed to discover that wisdom within for sure. And that
Mhm.
our body is constantly communicating to us. It's just, are we pausing long enough to listen? Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
Chris.
Where to start? They say the longest journey is that from the head to the heart. Well, I was really in my head. So I've developed a whole suite of tools that I used on myself. I found this through my own challenges, through my struggles, and through my journey. I've been an acupuncturist for 20 years. I've been a coach for about 5 or 6, maybe longer. I don't. Formal training started about 5 years ago. The answer is within. The challenge really comes in learning how to listen to our body and how to trust and love ourselves and our body. And so I've been working with bodies and on bodies, and I've recently developed a rapid pain elimination technique that doesn't even involve me having to touch a person. I can walk you through it because your body is the healer. My whole life I've been told, be who you are. That's a really fun one. And then listen to your body. We have our bodies talking, and all we've ever been taught to do is shut it up. Here's a painkiller. Here's a this, here's a that. Or let's go to see that guy who knows how to work on my body. What I'm striving towards is I feel that I've connected with a technique where for the first time, it's not just listening, it's learning how to answer, learning how to drop into that depth, actively releasing pain patterns. And that's working on the level of the psyche. This, in a certain respect, is shadow work through the somatic, as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
Yes, most
Very
definitely.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for highlighting that. That is so important in this day and age of how people are conditioned to just literally be on a treadmill, right, of life and to push through. And that's just not for business professionals. This is for everyone. We live in that culture that glorifies pushing through. So my question is for you both is, what happens to our nervous system when we're ignoring those signals? How is it showing up in the body?
I mean, in the people that I've taught yoga to and done consultations with in herbs and Reiki, it usually comes down in overwhelm. I kind of look at things through the polyvagal theory. That's kind of how we set things up in our app, where we look at what is how, are you, what side of the spectrum are you on? Are you kind of hypervigilant, which is like anxiety? It's all anxiety, but like more of the panic, or are you like shut down? And when we start to see people move into those places of pushing through, they're going to find themselves out of their we call window of tolerance, and they're going to be either on a space of shutdown, numbing, or panic attacks. One of those two. And if you're in those places, you're outside of your window of vitality, really.
Yeah, you're running on empty, right? Your cup is bone dry and cracked, and we have to find that space to fill ourselves up, to reconnect to our body's natural resources. Chris, how about you? What's happening with the nervous system, and how is it showing up in people's bodies when they're pushing through?
It always shows up. People come in. I have so many case studies, I don't even know what to pick, but I'll pick a recent one. This guy comes in, he was on vacation. He has a job good job, but he works remotely. And I'm thinking that's pretty cool. He's on vacation. His shoulder starts up and then it goes to his back, lower back. Lays him out. He goes to the hospital, flies back. He's seen everyone. About 4 or 5 weeks in, he comes to see me. And he's like, why does this happen to me? He's very concerned because he didn't do anything. He was sleeping. He wakes up, he's in pain. And the pain just kept progressing. And the beautiful thing when we're working at these levels, and this guy has some background in consciousness, and we understand that the solution lies within the problem. And
say that again. Say that again.
The solution lies within the problem, within the creation of every problem, when we take that step back. So his body was like, listen, buddy. So it's awesome. I'm sitting here like, that's so cool. You can go on vacation, you do whatever, and still get your work done. Well, the problem with that is he's never not working.
Yeah.
He came to realize my body was shutting me down, telling me, hey, Buster, and so he's been reconnecting to his body. He's been listening to his body. He's starting to set those boundaries. I see it. I have 1,000 stories like this. People come in with a problem. What's your stress right now? First thing I ask. And they look at me like I have 3 heads. And then they're like, oh, I've been going through X, Y, and Z. It always shows up in the body.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The body never lies. It's the lies that we tell ourselves about it. Wouldn't you agree?
The body can be a drama queen.
Yeah.
It can be a little dramatic sometimes.
Oh, what do you think about that, Julie?
The body and the can be dramatic. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah, I mean, I think that that's what makes sometimes when we start talking about pushing through somatics, I think that I mean, in my world, I work deeply with obviously in the nervous system lens and have for like over a decade. And I think that that's can be what people make when we start talking about embodiment or move with the body or do what feels good in your body, which is like the most common cue in any yoga or Pilates class. People can't do that because of what Chris was just saying. There's a lot of it can feel very dramatic in the body because of inflammation, trauma, which causes inflammation, all the things Chris is talking about, we're talking about. It can feel very overwhelming to even think through how I'm even going to access. We call this interoception in polyvagal perspectives, that
Yes.
interoceptive sense. So it can feel very dramatic to even think, how am I going to put my brain inside of my body? Because of inflammation and chronic pain and all that, all of that.
For sure. And as you said that's perfect segue because our bodies, it's a sponge and it holds everything for us. And if we've never tapped into it and aren't aware, then we tend to disassociate from our body. And it's more of, what do I need to do to fix this so I can feel better, so I can get to work and do the things. And then that's when, unfortunately, and I'm not saying all prescription medication is, the devil or anything. In moderation, right? Sometimes is helpful as we learn and lean in and help alleviate those pain points. But working with somebody like Chris and Julie and myself to help you navigate through and not pushing through, right? This is the key here, not pushing the body. Our minds say, you got to do this, you got to keep going, you have to be on that hamster wheel. How is anything going to happen if you just pause? Then that even puts us even more in survival mode, right? That the sympathetic nervous system, and just being curious and open to what can I learn from my body? How can I be here now and lean in and listen to those whispers or those knocks at the door? Yeah. So what in your professions, what have you experienced when you've pushed too much? Chris, I think you had something that you shared with us backstage about what happened with you. And
oh goodness, problem with not thinking before I speak because I don't remember what I say. I will say that what you do, both of you, I love how we're approaching this from such different angles, because that's the holistic approach. That's hitting all the bases. Like Julie, your nervous system approach, beautiful. I love to work through proprioception, the body's awareness of itself. And April, breath. Breath is the foundational anchor. That is the first way to bring a person into the body. No one else. You find me a species of mammal that does not breathe diaphragmatically, and I'll show you a person. And I try to connect a person to the diaphragm. It is an uphill battle. We're dancing and dancing. So for me, this may be what I was talking about. I went through my own experience of, like, I developed my techniques because of my own trauma, my own pain, my own suffering, because other people have not connected to it. I developed the rapid release because I had essentially a migraine from heck. And it was just tension in the back of my neck. I know how to release this on other people, but I don't know anyone that's going to be able to get it to hold on me. And so I was actively developing how to connect to this because of the work I do and everything else, I have a high level of proprioceptive awareness, and I kept bringing it in. How can I get this to release? How can I get this to balance? How can I deepen my trust in my body? How can I? And so it's using neuromuscular reflexes. It's doing proprioceptive reset and recalibration. The neck ones, as well as the psoas ones, are actually doing autonomic restoration by working on the SCM and the psoas. We're able to help rebalance the vagus nerve. It's a whole recalibration through the body, which is accessible once a person is able to touch it. And the way I initially developed this, we have to bring awareness into the body, because that's how I did it on myself. And I realized anyone that's anxious or in a state has put themselves out of their body. It's like to bring them in is to go against every defense mechanism they have. They do not view their body as home.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, Julie just said exactly. So when somebody's been locked outside their body because it's not a safe space, it could be trauma. There's so many things, right? How do you ease them into that space, Julie?
Well, we have a method that we do in the app we call it spiraling, which if anyone's done any energy work or yoga, the spiral is a big, thing. It's a big symbol for how our bodies actually work. So I use a spiral method where it's titration. Titration from an embodiment perspective is taken from the science world, which is where we do like little pieces at a time. So we don't overwhelm your nervous system to go outside of our window of tolerance. And so in the methods that I've used on myself, because I also have ADHD, and it was hard for me to access my body for a long time because I have a history. I'm not really symptomatic anymore, but I do have a history of complex trauma and ADHD. So accessing my body when I've been in my own states of hyperarousal can feel really uncomfortable. So I use a method where in the inner spiral, so it goes out, it kind of starts to move out, by time, how much time we spend noticing the body. So I start using James Clear and BJ Fogg would be like science. It's all habit stacking, but they're the research that I kind of baseline in. And starting to just notice, but really BJ Fogg is really what I'm trained in, is just his tiny habits where we learn to anchor feeling our bodies within a routine. So it's not about motivation or willpower. It's about just finding making it consistent, because the nervous system needs consistency to expand our window of tolerance, to expand that capacity so we can be with ourselves, or I call it in vitality, in those places of, we would call it regulation, or I call it inner presence without panic.
Yes. And you touched on something as it needs, repetition, and just little small doses, right? Those titrations of it and tuning in. And what brings to mind also is not only are we setting the thermostat of our nervous system, right? Resetting that, but also we're creating new neural pathways in our brains. We're changing the physicality of our brains. I love it. I love that, even thinking of that. And then carving out those new neural pathways so that way we can remember, oh yeah, that did feel good. Oh yeah, that it starts to be a natural default then. And then the nervous system won't be as heightened or activated when we're thinking about a situation or walking into a room, because there's a lot of that happening now. A lot of people their neurosensory is picking up on other people's stuff, and they don't know that they need to set their own before they even go into that conversation or that room.
Mhm.
Yes. Chris, what do you think about that?
Well, first, I just want to say something in defense of the body and it being dramatic. And that is, it gets a little dramatic because we go a lifetime without listening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So after a while, it starts to scream because it's trying to push us onto our correct truth. When I had depression forever, when I had anxiety, all this other stuff, I was holding it in the body until my body and my life made it untenable to continue the choice of that pattern. And if you notice, when you're happy, you feel better. And it's so powerful. And you couldn't be more right. April, you nailed it. It's that familiarity, it's that continuity, it's that regularity, because that becomes our reality that we're projecting and receiving. That becomes our baseline habitual level of consciousness. Yes, it is all habits. And anyone can say what they like, because feel free to disagree. But I believe that, and I can see it from the other side, my depression, my anxiety was a choice. You can't see it when you're in it. But on the other side, I chose to continue following those thoughts. I chose to let my consciousness be stuck in my head and would not let it go into my body. I was protecting myself from feeling, and then all I could feel was pain. So bringing myself back, welcome home, coming into, and that's what I work with my patients and my clients with.
It's so important to be able to trust. Somebody said that in the very beginning, to trust the body.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When we've been conditioned to objectify it and do the things to it to make it perform or behave a certain way.
Yeah. It's
Yes. And
really,
go
that
ahead.
goes so deep, because trust in the body is self-love. Trust in the body is coming home. Trust in the body is safety. Trust in the body is trust in your world.
Mhm.
And I'll go so far as to even say, and sorry about going here, but shadow work. And it has a lot of different names. We can call it working through issues. And I used to think it could be done in my mind. It can't. It's done in this 3D realm by confronting our fears, with the courage to trust ourselves to overcome the obstacle. So it's all about the body. It's done through the body.
Mhm. Yeah, and this really goes back to even our ancestors.
Mhm.
As we're healing, as we're pausing, as we are leaning in and listening, this is shifting our DNA. This is healing generational trauma as well.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, and I want to acknowledge all the amazing people that have chimed in here and are just really excited for this conversation. Of course, we have Mike and the Hounds of Business. Thank you so much for the Hounds. This is how I connect with amazing people like Chris and Julie. There is no question about it. As we are vibing higher, we attract those that are like-minded as well. I'm a firm believer in that. And Deborah, thank you so much for being here, friend. And we had Crystal and Lisa and Curtis. Curtis is also an amazing soul of the Hounds. And Homer, another fellow Hounds. And we have Frank here. Thank you, Frank, for being here and tuning in. And it's also good to see you here, Habib, as he had been in my live rooms in LinkedIn when you could do audio rooms. So I appreciate you, Habib, and I remember you from those days of those rooms. Yeah, so continuing that topic of how the push through, right, and our bodies responding. When a person doesn't listen, and we kind of alluded to it before, Chris, you shared about your client, but Julie, what have you noticed when people don't listen? What happens? What's going on? As we think about, or they think about, like, it seems like a cycle, doesn't it? Like it's either quarterly or monthly. There's a big report coming up. There's a big meeting or a presentation, or even financial stability, at the end of the month, paying bills, we feel it on our necks and our backs, our body is holding all this for us. So what do you have to say about that?
I think that we are, and I've had clients, and I've definitely had, actually, I had 2 clients recently who, they come to some of my classes, and we've worked through tiny habits, and they've tried a couple of like the larger 60-minute classes. And I've noticed it's hard for them to maintain a practice, because of a lot of things Chris talked about, kind of what's happening, anxiety, making, you know, those 60-minute aspects or those longer workshops for some reason can be a barrier. When we start to go up against work, the day-to-day stuff you just talked about, and they'll stop. They'll stop listening to their bodies, they'll stop exercising, they'll stop thinking about nutrition, they'll go do fast food. They're gonna go to the, I call it, I hate to say call the easy button, but
It is, though. It is exactly what it is. And I'm glad you
yeah.
said that, Julie. I really am.
Yeah, I hate to call it that, but it's because the unintentional button, I don't know. It was like, but it's the easy button is what I call. But we step into some of our old behaviors, and when those stressors come up. And I think that but then it becomes a spiral, not spiraling out instead of spiraling in. Is that what I call it? That's why I like the spiral methods, because we start to spiral out of control, out of our bodies, and we start to move into disassociation and disconnection from self when we start to rely on the easy button to cope with stress. Now, I understand sometimes it's not bad. I try not to like pathologize bad or good. And sometimes we do spiral out, and then we can always come back in. There's grace abounds, to in this work. But I think it's important to know, to be able to notice when are we spiraling in towards our body, or are we spiraling out away from it? And the spiraling out, is literally spiraling out. Like when people say I'm spiraling out, I really think we're spiraling out away from the attunement of our bodies and of our sense of self and health and wellness.
Exactly. And that the easy button that happens, when we're not connected to our bodies, when we haven't invited that pause, however that looks, whether it's meditation or just going out for a walk in nature, playing with your pet, just taking a pause to where you feel that, as Chris said, that happiness, right? When we feel happy and have the joy, that's when we're in alignment with ourselves, with our higher power, even whatever you believe that to be, everyone listening here. You can't refuse that. You can't, reject it. Yes, we are in love. We are connected. And it's so important to remember that we're also the ripple effect. So how are we going through our day? Are we still beating the drum, still talking about all the things that have happened or is going to happen, right? Our mind projects that, and then our body is going to respond. And then that creates that overwhelm. It's like a catch-22, right? And just bringing us back to that space to where we can connect to ourselves, to our higher power, however that works for you. That's the magic there too. And then our bodies can relax. It eases that, because that easy button is very easy to go to because our brain literally it just goes there. And then afterwards we're like, why did I react that way? Why did I yell at that person? Or why did I eat that bag of potato chips? Or how come I can't get off the couch and get to the gym? I want to go there. I know that I need to do this for myself. But it's that default. It's that easy button, because we are creatures of habit. And it's that shift, changing the habit. Yeah. How do you recommend, Chris, for your clients to create that shift? I call it shift the script, right? Of the thoughts and bring awareness to, making better choices and then following through. How do you guide your clients for that?
I have my ways. One of them is, I was speaking, it's actually a friend of mine, and she's in England, and I sent her an exercise to release upper traps. That's the easiest exercise I have right now to get into and to learn the system, because my system involves bringing consciousness into the body. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but we do have 3 primary consciousnesses. They could be called the 3 burners in acupuncture. We have body, we have heart, and then we have mind, or we have body, left brain, right brain, however you want to look at it. And the left brain is the only part of our consciousnesses that can lie. The other 2 can't lie. So muscle testing is going through the body to ask, and I'll frequently use muscle testing with people, and so they'll have the confirmation of what their body is telling them. The other thing that's really essential, going back to my friend in England, is I didn't have time. I'm like, nonsense. It takes 2 minutes. It's literally a 2-minute video. You're making a choice. What choice do you choose? Who do you want to be? And what are you willing to do to get there? And Julie, I love what you said. Absolutely loved it. Except I always have caveats, because I dive into funny levels. Sometimes the outward spiral is super important when we're engaging in the outward with the world reflecting to us. Having our attention and our trust on the outside world, which is a representation of our consciousness. Healthy dissociation is what coaching strives towards. But what you were referring to, the pathological dissociation, is so toxic. Everything comes down to this balance, and that is a huge amount. Like right now, I'm in a period of activity. And then there's also, importantly, those periods of stillness and rest, the activity to move and the rest to integrate. So what I work with so much with my clients is, how are we going to find that balance? How are we going to listen to when your body's saying go, and when your body's saying, let's take a stop. Because you can't see through that water that's churning at the top in order for us to see clearly. And again, breath work is fantastic with this, and so is working with the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. It's all about that balance. There's a time to go and a time to stop. So if someone, what does it show up as? You're not sleeping. Your stomach's all a mess. Your digestive system, my God, all of IBS involves your body's been screaming, help me, get on. And all of this, and I'm sorry to sidebar, I warned you I might do this. All of this is to get us onto our true and authentic path, why we're here. It brings us into joy, happiness, and peace. And Habib, I love that you threw in peace, because that's ultimately even beyond joy and happiness. And I had a chronic tightness over here in the right shoulder neck area. When I went into it enough in meditation with body movement to feel what it was, that was me not being seen, because I'm a lot of things, ADHD spectrum, you name it. And I've worked a ton. That's why I'm particularly good at what I do, but also very difficult to work on. And that's why I love working on people like me, because I know the struggle and I've been there. But I had all this pain, tension, etc., chronic. And I realized that's because I wasn't seen and I wasn't loved for who I was. So I tried to be the character that other people would like. So instead I became a phony, which furthered the separation, the not being seen, and everything else. So I tried harder. And that character wasn't me. And my body was like, stop playing this guy. This is not healthy. You're hurting yourself. You're going on the wrong path. You're choosing based on fear, not authenticity. This is how you learn to be yourself. So yeah, my body. And so what did I do? I went more into my head. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Alcohol, you name it. It didn't work. So sorry, long answer and total sidebar.
No apologies necessary, because I think there's a lot of people here. Put something in the chat if you've experienced that. Seriously, if you have any questions for Chris or Julie about some challenges that you're facing, that you're noticing these repetitive chronic tensions and things that are coming up in your body, or even the thoughts, right? The ruminating thoughts, the stories that go on. We all have that. I remember reading Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, and he talked about the little voice in the head. And I literally, when I was reading that book and I was in my mid 30s, I literally like dropped the books, like, I have that little voice in my head. And it was interesting because I shared it with a friend. Like, she started reading the book, but as soon as he got to the little voice in the head, she didn't like it. She couldn't get past it. What do you mean? I don't have a little voice in my head. What are you talking about? Yes, we all have that little voice, and it constantly talks to us and chatters about all the things, whether we're doing something physically or emotionally or mentally, just being aware. And we can make the choice to shift the script.
Yes.
And that's the empowerment of choosing not the easy button, but knowing that we're meant to evolve and grow throughout our entire being. We're never going to get to the end of the rainbow. We're never, this is the journey. This is the getting ready to get ready to get ready. We're constantly doing this in our lives, and we get to explore. I mean, how crazy cool is that?
And I think you're hitting on I just thinking of instructional design has always just taught me to be a very linear process thinker, not that things are linear. They're not experienced linearly, but I think that there's a really important starting point when we start talking about moving from the easy button in this journey, what I would call embodiment or learning to sense our bodies as, wise tools to help us access health and vitality and overall, just
Yes.
wellness in the world. But how do you get there? And I think those important steps are important because the nervous system is a part of that. Because when the nervous system is still kind of in a space of, I would call it, we've been calling it kind of dramatic in here, it can feel really uncomfortable. And that's where, moving from the easy button to what I use is more like the habit stacking model is learning to anchor that in your day so you can feel successful, because you have to feel successful and have positive emotions around success to help build a consistency, and then we get motivation, and then motivation kicks in later. But like, I think when we start the nervous system, from my experience and my clients' experiences, when we start to go from easy button to motivation too quickly, we spiral
Yes.
out. That's where I see
Yes.
the disassociation start to.
Yes.
Yes, it's something that we have to ease into and be very aware, because it's so easy to disassociate. And I want to bring up something that Habib had asked here. And Habib says, I've been experiencing this chronic burden of inner turmoil that has been progressing as I continue to neglect to listening to my body's essence. What's the first thing we can do to allow us to become more comfortable and inclined to listen to our pain and understand it? And I see that you had responded, Chris, but can you expand a little bit more on that so our friend here, Habib, can just kind of ease his mind a little bit about that?
The first thing, Habib, is allowing yourself to feel it. The resistance is the pain. Now, the pain is a fantastic teacher when we're listening to it. When we're resisting it, it becomes stronger because it's trying to get us to listen. And something that has been just smacking me left and right and center and everything right now, and I love it. I have this great Flaming Carrot comic book from many years ago. Fortune favors the bold. Our world is interactive when we learn to trust it. So the taking of action, overcoming that fear, frequently why I got locked in myself was I was afraid to operate from the heart. So I locked myself in the mind. As I began to trust, using small steps, myself and my world, to deliver and to open myself to other people. Sure, I've been betrayed, I've been burned, I've had all of it happen to me. Now I have a choice. Am I going to trust myself and my resiliency? Or am I going to go into a shell and live in pain because I'm afraid that the world might hurt me? In which case, I'm causing that pain on myself constantly. So it's loving yourself enough to take those small steps. Treat yourself the way you would the most loved one. Give yourself something. Take that special, whatever it is, and give it to yourself. Once you start the self-love, the cycle begins and brings you into your body. I also have some videos out there that will directly address the physical. We don't really have time on this for me to go into it, but if you want, you could hit me up if that's of interest.
How about you, Julie? Do you have some words of wisdom to share with our friend Habib? And thank you, Habib, for your transparency and sharing where you're at right now. That is huge. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of piggybacking off of what Chris was saying. I think it's about leaning into curiosity, and starting to like notice, when am I feeling, when is that just what's happening around me? Like, it's more of like a sense. I like to look at it as a sensory thing. When my body is in pain, what is happening around me? What conversations am I having right now? What conversations are happening in my head? Really, that's an important one. And like, because I think when we start to be able to find those patterns between our thoughts and our sensations, and also what's happening around us, because that is whether it's work or a deadline, that's what I mean if I'm going to be more specific. But when we start to be able to link our somatic symptoms to our thoughts and what's happening relationally and environmentally, we can start to chart those patterns and start to figure out, kind of being what Deborah was talking about earlier, kind of being our own physicians to a certain degree. That's not to take out anybody's, anybody's expertise here, but when you can learn to be your own best client, on your own body, can be a really helpful first step, but really learning to chart those patterns between self, body, and world.
Yes. And it's so important to observe it. It's really challenging, though, when we're entangled in the emotions of it, or the story, or the resentment of whatever we're experiencing. And so to be able to step back just a little bit and see it for what it is with that curiosity of, how is this showing up for me? This is my body. It's amazing. This is a container so I can walk the earth and have these amazing experiences. So how can I be a better steward of my body? As Chris said, treat it with the most kind, gentle, being that a baby or a little puppy or a kitten, even if you can't put the human side to it, because a lot of people are jaded and things. So, thinking of just a simple little animal there that you want to support, and how can you bring that to you? Because your body responds to it and how you're feeling. Cancer research shows that with cells. It shows how people talk to themselves, how they integrate with other people, what they're doing, all the things. Our cells are responding to it. And I know that Dr. Joe Dispenza, whether you like him or not, he has done a lot of research on it. And one of my friends just went to one of his retreats, and so much more is going to be happening. So much with all the research that he's been doing.
Cool.
So this has been such an exciting conversation, and there's so much more to unpack. I would love for you to share a little bit about what's coming up for each of you. Any, excuse me, any things that you're doing. And then, of course, how people can get in touch with you before we wrap up. Julie, would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Pulling you up here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So we're just doing like final wrap ups. Is that, I just want to make sure I'm tracking.
Yeah, like what's coming up for you? What do you have?
Okay.
Something? I know you mentioned the app. Is there anything
Yeah.
else that you're doing?
Cool.
And how you can support our audience here?
Yeah. So I would say, I think, what I'm really seeing here in this comment thread is just really people that are obviously really exploratory and curious. And that's like the baseline, I think, for any sort of work around the body is curiosity. I mean, that is like baseline, like stepping back from judgment, stepping back and being like, you know, what is happening around me, within me, even what Chris does, proprioception, the balance, where's my body in space and how is it connected to me? So learning to living in curiosity. So I love all these questions and patterning, learning to track patterns is probably one of the greatest skills, because that's critical thinking in the body. And I'm just hearing a lot of really good talk about critical thinking somatically, which is just so cool. One of my favorite things. And yeah, we can totally help do that. And I love what I was reading what Chris was saying about rapid release method. I need to go look at your YouTube video for sure. I'm going to go check that out after I'm done here. Because yeah, I totally believe in being your own physician. And really that's how we begin to critically think in our bodies, is being our own physicians. I mean, that's what it is. That's, critically thinking with our bodies is so important. So a lot of my work starts, like I said, in that kind of spiral style journey that we take you on in the app, where we start with these little daily-ish habits that we start with, where we teach me or anyone to integrate that's a part of our, it's been through our training, teaches these little ways to habit stack to begin to feel your body and build an anchored practice around it within your day. Whether it's after brushing your teeth, I'm going to take a deep breath and then like give yourself, I don't know, we always say like, yeah, you can like do yes, or whatever is going to bring you a positive emotion after you do the first step. Small step, not small, not so it's overwhelming you. The first step to feeling a positive emotion about taking care of yourself. And then you can go, to another option we have, which is we have online classes and in-person classes in St. Louis here. 60-minute classes are online where you can do yoga nidra, which is more like a very somatic protocol from the yoga philosophy. It's not exactly guided meditation. It is a somatic like body scan that goes through, and it teaches you how to kind of move into a space of, we call it yogic sleep, but it's like a space of like awareness, like a restful awareness is what I would say.
Yes.
But it's really good for releasing anxiety, decreasing anxiety, and coming into a parasympathetic space. And then we have big workshops that like larger workshops, 75 to 120 minutes, where I teach this whole method. So you don't have to be in our app. Like that's not the whole process that I'm working from. It's a one and done for us. It's come in, learn this process. So you can go to Pilates, you can go to April's Bali class, you can go to Chris's class, and you know how to chart pattern within yourself where you are in your nervous system.
Ah, such great work. Great work. And like you said, you wear so many hats, and I love all the work that you do. And so, how can people connect with you? What's the best way?
Yeah. So the best way to get to me is go to let'sintegrate.lave, and you can download our app. If it's your first time, it'll probably be a little pop-up thing that says download the app. I have a podcast as well that continues to emerge and evolve called Empathy by Design, where we talk through how we engage with this sense of design. I'm a designer, but like intention is what I mean by design. Living intentionally through this world of setting ourselves up for success, and living through a lens of creativity and intentionality. So, and designing a life that is good for our nervous systems and our bodies.
Wonderful. And so obviously you're on LinkedIn. What other
Yeah.
social platforms are you on?
Yeah, so we're on LinkedIn, Substack, Instagram, and Facebook. I would say like our growth is like LinkedIn and Substack, and our podcast for the most. I'm on YouTube as well. I'm having some technical issues getting YouTube or YouTube to sync over a little bit, which is why we're going to be doing live streams in October. I think. So I was like, I know Mike was like, just do a live stream. I was like, he's like, you'll take all that work out. I was like,
true. That's why I'm doing live streams.
Right. So like we're gonna start doing some live streams, I think with Mike actually. So I think Mike's gonna be my first live stream in a long time. We've done live stream before. We started doing podcasts, but now with technical issues, we're gonna go back to doing live streams.
That's great.
So yeah.
Great information. Thank you so much, Julie, for being here. You're amazing. And just your presence and your energy is phenomenal. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. Chris, how about you, friend? What do you have coming up? Any offers? I know you mentioned the YouTube video. What else do you have brewing?
Well, first off, I guess I'm somewhat clairaudient. And all I have right now is Sergeant Pepper. You're such a lovely audience. We'd like to take you home with us. We'd love to take you home. So I want authentically.
You gotta sing it. That's the only way
well, that's time. My voice isn't there right now. But that, honestly, everyone for coming here, for contributing, for being authentic, and for really reaching out. Thank you so much. April, your retreat sounds incredible because we're talking about the body, and this really is bringing ourselves into the world, bringing ourselves engaging with the world at that physical level. Julie, and the vibration of the place, enormous. Anyway, Julie, your offerings, all I can think is Fibonacci and fractals. Brilliant, and thank you so much for sharing it. Am I off base with that, or am I sort of?
No. You're totally on. You're on.
Close to the mark. Yeah, and that's absolutely fantastic, and I love how that is. As for me, I am physically in Scarsdale, and I do acupuncture, I do coaching, and I do hands-on and hands-off healing there. The rapid release, I've started doing videos with my patients, and I will be posting some of those because I feel like that makes it a lot more approachable. The technique itself, and this was something that was revealed to me, and I'm so grateful for it. It didn't come cheap. I definitely didn't feel great when I was unraveling it, but it's taught. So it's pulling you into your own body. It's not me doing it. You're healing yourself. And literally patients that I've seen for quite a while, and they love what I do. They're like, that was the best treatment I've ever had. I didn't do anything. You did all the work. You are now your doctor. I can guide you. I can help you. I can help you go deeper. I do have a long time, good history of kinesthetic and intuitive connection at this point. But literally, this is building the trust and the rapport with the body. How to go into the body again, Habib. The videos I posted yesterday, and if you want, I have the full ones. I'm just going to post it after the other one. It'll bring you into your body. It'll bring you into that trust. It'll bring you into that self-love. It's amazing how we've so separated ourselves from our body, but part of this game is that discovery. The true miracle is that we believe we're limited, because we are unlimited, infinite beings having the experience of limitation. So anytime I make, and anytime shadow work, any sort of a jump, any sort of a leap, any sort of a progression, all of them have one thing in common: deepening of trust and faith. Any growth step is a deepening of trust and faith in either myself or my creator or the world itself, whatever way it's reflected. And this is doing it through the body, because a lot of times we keep telling a story, but there's something underneath that we're holding in the body that helps us to let go of that story. Somatic therapy, all that stuff. That's what this is. That's what all of us here are talking about in our own ways of approaching it.
Exactly.
So, thank you so much, April, for putting this together. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, you're most welcome. I so appreciate you both showing up and being your authentic selves. This conversation couldn't have unfolded any better. And I truly believe that our guests really received something even more so, because we are expanding the stone soup of collective consciousness here. It's what I truly believe with these conversations. And each of our essence is contributing to that. And Habib and Deborah and Lisa and Mike, everybody who came in, Curtis, to, absorb this stone soup, they're walking away feeling so much better and lighter. So thank you both for being here, for being amazing. And I look forward to connecting with everybody in the future, and keep living with intention. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.